Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it's lovely to see you again, Mr. Chairman, and Luann as well. And thank you for holding this most important hearing. And Mr. Bear, I'm a career small business person in the high-tech industry and have taken the company public, but I must confess to you, I just found out what Periscope was yesterday.
Well, thank you. Congrats on that.
I've got a lot of questions, so maybe we can be brief in our answers, and we'll just go down the line here. Ms. Blair, do you understand or know what a zero-sum game is?
No, I do not.
Mr. Meyer, do you know what a zero-sum game is?
Yes.
Ms. Vallis? Yes. Mr. Bear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Well, according to the dictionary, a zero-sum game is, quote, one participant's gain is another participant's loss. Many in Congress, the reason I bring this up, many in Congress put forth the idea that if someone in America is getting ahead, then someone must be falling behind. Do you believe that? Do you believe that, Ms. Blair?
No.
Mr. Meyer, do you believe that?
No.
Ms. Vallis, do you believe that?
Do I believe that if someone's getting ahead, someone else is
Then
falling
someone
behind?
must necessarily be falling behind. Zero-sum game.
I think it depends on the context.
Okay, Mr. Bear?
No.
Okay, 1963, John F. Kennedy had a great statement, and I'll paraphrase, a rising tide lifts all boats. What does that mean to you, Ms. Blair?
It means that economic growth will not benefit just the people at the top, but it will benefit everyone.
And did that happen in the 80s under President Reagan? Did the rich get richer, the middle class got richer, and the poor got richer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Meyer? What does a rising tide lifts all boats mean to you?
I think it means the benefits of of innovation tend to flow down throughout all parts of the economy and don't just stay with the creators.
Ms. Vallis?
I think, unfortunately, it spells a narrative that we've learned in recent history is no longer true, as the rich have gotten richer and average Americans are falling behind.
So economic policies do have consequences, correct?
Absolutely.
And the income disparity has gotten worse under this administration, correct?
The income disparity has gotten worse over the last 3 decades due to policies that long predate this administration.
And accelerated during this administration. Mr. Bear, rising tide lifts all boats. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. As the tide lifts, we're all in boats. I think it's unfair to assume that we're all at the same level. To hear about Schwartzman having $500 billion or $1 trillion or whatever it is, we sort of have to think, like, is that fair? I think we have to say, well, what's the alternative? Did he and people like him create tens of thousands of jobs through the successful running of public businesses that generated massive economic value for lots of people? I think they probably did.
The facts of the matter is this economic recovery, these are the facts, this isn't partisanship, is the worst economic recovery in U.S. history post-World War II. Had we had a Reagan recovery versus an Obama recovery, we'd have 11 million more Americans working today. 11 million off of government dependency. And we'd also, the average family of 4 would have nearly $1,000 a month more in pay. Economic policies have consequences. And I'd like your honest opinion on this. Philosophical question. Do you think the Obama's administration, what do you think their attitude is, Ms. Blair, toward the private sector and business?
I think it's that the private sector needs to be controlled in a way and facilitated by the government sector.
Mr. Bear, Mr. Meyer, what do you think the Obama administration's attitude is toward the private sector?
Well, I think that they almost overestimate that the private sector will continue to produce to the level it does if you keep increasing regulations and don't reform our internationally uncompetitive tax code.
Ms. Vallis?
I believe
Am I
that-
pronouncing your name the correct way? Vallis?
Closer than most.
Yeah, great. I don't, Ms. Vallis.
I believe that the Obama administration has been dedicated to reducing deficits as well as spurring economic growth, and that's what we've seen for the last 5 to 6 years.
Mr. Bear?
I think they've hired a lot of great people. They've brought in people from Google and Facebook and young millennials. The challenge is that finding the right public policies to create economic growth is really hard. And too often, for people that want to create a social safety net, the idea is that we can just raid the coffers of people like Steve Schwartzman and he won't even notice. Well, he will.
What do you think, Mr. Bear, what do you think the president's attitude is? How does he view the private sector and businesses? What's your personal opinion?
Well, until I entered the world of business, I had no idea what it meant. And as far as I know, he hasn't really ever signed the front of a check.
Would you agree if we have more members of Congress who sign the fronts of paychecks, this might be a different and perhaps a better government?
I would welcome that. I would love some sort of cap on former lobbyists and lawyers representing the United States people in the Congress.
Very good. I've run out of time. Thank you very much for
Jim's
your
time has
answers. Thank you,
expired. Mr. McClintock is recognized for 5 minutes.